This is our first ever podcast in the series Behind the Algorithm, where we explore the human and philosophical layers behind technology. From AI ethics to digital culture, we unpack the ideas, biases, and unintended consequences shaping our tech-driven world. Join us as we dive deep with experts, innovators, and thinkers to reveal the forces influencing the algorithms that influence us. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a skeptic, or just curious about the bigger picture, this is where tech meets humanity. You may have noticed the title of this podcast, Magic Intelligence in the Sky, which was a term used by OpenAI's co-founder Sam Altman at the end of 2024 to describe what they were trying to achieve as a business. Sounds an awful lot like their version of AGI is kind of God. So to unpack this, we'll be delving into the world of theology and AI with Stephanie Antonian, founder of AI consultancy Astora. Stephanie has written a whole essay on this subject and we'll include the link in the description, but I think she's well placed to start kind of diving into this subject. Stephanie, please introduce yourself.
Thanks so much for having me, Greg. So I'm Stephanie. I am the founder and CEO of Astora, and before that I was at Google and DeepMind and Google X, working on a whole range from business strategy through to policy and ethics, up through to God, talking a lot about God. Coincidentally, I did my undergrad in biblical studies once thinking I was going to become a nun, but I'm getting disappointed that I couldn't be the Pope. So taking a little turn into business. So that's what sparked my interest in this and seeing how similar so much of the AI conversation is to institutional religion.
It always makes me chuckle, and I know it shouldn't, that you studied theology and then ended up building out kind of ethics committees for some of the biggest companies in the world. Always makes me chuckle.
Yeah, it sort of makes me laugh in hindsight, laugh or cry in that I just got wrapped up into the same ideologies, just in a totally different form and didn't see it. I thought I was so smart distancing myself from Catholicism because I was enlightened or what have you, and then I just fell into the same traps and promises for redemption and salvation, but just worse. So I was like, oh gosh, this is rubbish, but we'll unpack that one later.
Yeah, whether or not AI will save us, redeem us,
It won't.
or whether it is actually the ultimate sin.
Well, I mean, we know AI won't save us because we have to save ourselves. Everyone has the choice on whether they participate in making the world better or not, and there's nothing that can be done that saves that choice, or that saves you from having to make the choice on whether you'll take that leap of faith and believe in a better world and something bigger. But I forgot the last part of your question, sorry.
It was whether or not AI will save and redeem us, or whether it is the ultimate, whether it will lead us to the ultimate sin.
Yeah. Oh, so the first part was, well, no, of course it won't save us. And that's just not how salvation works. But secondly, like when we talk about sin, sins, they're not necessarily things that are bad so much as they're warnings of things that hurt. So, um, when people refer to things as sins, they're often trying to explain that if you do that, it's probably going to hurt you. Like, and that's probably an easier way to look at it than this is morally right or this is morally wrong. And so, if you put your dependency in something that you hope to save you that is for profit, it's
Mm,
probably going to hurt.
mm.
And you can refer to that as a sin or not, or whatever language you want to use. But the truth is that it's probably going to hurt. And that's what might try to express.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that we're creating a false idol, no?
Yeah, we're definitely creating a false idol.
Yeah, that was not really one of my questions to kind of dive in and unpack this, but just interesting to kind of get your take on whether it is a savior or whether it is probably the ending of morality as we know it. But
Mm.
really, to head up this debate, it might be kind of nice to frame the essay that you wrote, which I think we're going to lean on quite heavily for this. Do you just want to explain some of the work that you've been doing at Astora and how that relates back to God and theology, especially that essay?
Yes. Okay, so I will probably start that as unpacking what God means. So it is a term that is used in very, very different ways, and it's emotionally evoking, and lots of people imagine a man in the sky who is looking at everything you're doing and judging, or even an AI system now that's making decisions on everything about you and how worthy you are. But really, what God means is just our best guess for how to navigate the unknown. It usually refers to the best framework at the time for society or for a community for how they're going to navigate the unknown. And so we always have a desire for God because we live in a universe that's filled with unknown. Life is filled with uncertainty, with chaos, with suffering, with things that we don't have answers to. And the main answer being, why do we have to die? And why do we have to live? We don't know the answers and we're not going to know them. And that requires us to find a way to navigate life. And we usually just wrap that up into ideology of God. So it doesn't really matter when we call things God. It matters what we're calling. Like it matters the framework that's underneath matters. So a lot of the AI conversation now is about AI becoming godlike, and that triggers a whole load of emotions underneath. But the real questions to ask is just, well, what is this God? What is this framework? You know, we don't need to get heightened about it. We don't need to get super emotional. We don't need to get hysterical. We just need to ask, is this a better framework for navigating the unknown than the past? And so that's what the essay looks at, on those really human desires of salvation, of life after death, like on all these things, on justice. Well, I mean, that's like one of the biggest reasons why we long for something, because we don't experience justice typically. But so what is this AI God? What is this magical intelligence in the sky saying about those things? And is that better than what we had before? Is it an upgrade? And so that's what the essay looks at. And just take a breath, calm down. Anyone can make anything a god. That's not impressive. I mean, you can manipulate people into worshipping anything. It's not necessarily a feat of human power or intelligence or technical prowess, but are we actually creating a better framework that's going to lead people to better, more meaningful, more prosperous lives? Like that's the question. And so that's what the essay looks at.
That's fascinating. So we need God to cope with these outside forces we can't control, things like death, things like chance, things like why do bad things happen to good people. Ultimately, you said a bit earlier on that obviously religion in its purest sense is about more than anything kind of building community, providing support,
Mm.
and actually building a new framework, a new godlike or religious type framework on a commercial model is ultimately a false start. It's ultimately not going to end well.
Yes. Like exactly. So I mean, we part of the human condition is our longing for answers. Um, it hurts. A lot in life hurts. And God and religion is the language that we can express and try to reason with those problems. And eventually, some of our reasoning moves into scientific language, and there's a relationship between science and religion that's much more aligned, and it's a much bigger partnership than we like to give it credit for. But religion allows us to keep talking and trying to make sense of what has not yet been placed in scientific language. And yeah, like it's just we have this desire, we have this desperation, we have this longing, and that can be exploited and it can be soothed. And I think we just need to look back in history on when that has been exploited and
Mm.
when that has been soothed, and how what has worked in what way, because that shows us everything we to know about AI. And of course, if your ambition is profit, and you're a listed company and your ambition is profit, and you want to make a god, that is not going to make the world a better place. That's going to make you richer. Like that's a cult. Like we just, I mean, it's not, it doesn't, you don't need like an expert on religion or divinity or even economics to tell you that. That is total exploitation. It is the worst of humanity we have ever seen put into a new structure, which is basically institutional religion on crack. And that's going to be awful, but that doesn't take a genius. That's just what's obvious. Andreessen Horowitz is not interested in you finding enlightenment.
No,
It's interested in returns on investment.
of course.
So if they're telling you that they're giving you tech that's going to give you enlightenment, you should close that computer down. Like that is not going to work out for you. Like, yeah, there you go.
I've just started. Actually, you've kind of touched on some stuff there. I've just started reading Nexus. Yuval Noah Harari. Sorry if he's listening or anyone that knows him is listening that I butchered his name. I've just started reading his new book Nexus, although I'm a bit late to the party on that one. And he talks about how ideologies get embedded into society the more people you get to believe it. The kind of understanding of social proof. With that extended kind of network and kind of proliferation of the networks that we have online, and a desire for humans to develop hierarchies, because face it, we're only slightly smarter chimps, you then get these power hungry individuals, Andreessen Horowitz and the like, big investment firms, big tech kind of leaders driving more greed, creating more discrimination. I mean, on that basis, kind of religion started in a space of enlightenment and went to subjugation.
Mm.
But it seems like AI is much that time frame from enlightenment to subjugation seems a lot quicker. Do you see AI creating more divisions quicker? Do you think that if we do get a godlike AI, it would be benevolent, or because it's run by these very few kind of powerful tech overlords, it would subjugate, or it would have the opportunity to subjugate humanity much quicker than traditional religions have?
Okay, there's a lot there. So I would say, firstly, that it's faith that's pure, and not necessarily like we've had a lot of challenges about institutional religions, and when things are institutionalized, there's always sacrifices. So, if you look at Christianity, a lot of, I mean, Jesus preaches love. Jesus is crucified so that he doesn't have to commit violence. That's how aggressive the message of love is.
Yeah,
So it later, hundreds and hundreds of years later, becomes institutionalized and it becomes a focus on conversion, and that message is lost to become something else. And a lot of it is conversion through violence. And those are the costs of institutionalized. The message becomes something else. And if you look at AI, I mean, AI is the pursuit of rationality. That's not machine learning. Like, that's not, it's a totally different technology. So, like, the idea of AI has long gone in practice for what that was meant to be. And it is now about institutionalizing it and getting everybody towards one thing. And actually, someone had messaged me on LinkedIn, so this wasn't my idea, but it really hit me in that, if you look at ChatGPT and Claude, it's a bit like everybody's got their own gospels now, and they're trying to preach on the gospels to be like, no, this is the truth. And we're going back to this world of we're in a time now where institutions are trying to consolidate truth around their worldview.
yeah,
And so one of the things that I've been writing about is really, a lot of people say that the Roman Empire became the Catholic Church, which I do think has now become AI. So when the Roman Empire was falling, it needed to keep the power and the ideology, it just needed to change something a little bit, but it was the
yeah.
same tactics. And that's what's happening with AI, because humanity, we're not naturally hierarchical. It's not a natural
Do you
desire.
not, do you not think human beings as a species are naturally hierarchical?
No, because we've had whole periods in history where we haven't had hierarchy. What makes us hierarchical is when people control agriculture, because we don't have a choice. We're dependent. As soon as you control agriculture, which is what the Roman Empire did, we become dependent. and hierarchy becomes a must. So that is a major shift that's happened. James Crossan has this wonderful book called God and Empire, and in it he talks about how we went through a long period in history where we weren't hierarchical, where people were collaborative, where we focused on community, but everybody had their own power because they made their own food.
Yeah.
And the thing about consolidating agriculture is you can't not be hierarchical when someone has your food.
Because of a reliance on the, let's say, the state or an institution.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's one of the really big tactics of, if you look at what the Roman Empire did, it was, I'm going to come in, I'm going to consolidate your resources, I'll take control, I'll give you access to some, and I'm going to move all the profit back to Rome.
Yeah.
That's also what the Catholic Church did. I'm going to come in, I'm going to take your spiritual stuff, I'm going to tell you you can pay for these certain things, and I'm going to give some money back to the community, but most of it I'm going to send it to the Vatican. And that's also what happens with AI, which is I'm going to give you all this. I'm going to take all your resources, like take all your information, give you a little bit back, and then all the money I'm going to put to the US. But actually now it's like, but I'm not going to pay tax, so I just put it to the billionaires. So it's the same model. So it's not really it's it's got nothing to do with benevolence. Like if you believe that God is love, if you believe that God is loving or there's something bigger in the universe other than money, then you don't believe in the AI God. There's nothing for you here. This is about power and about wealth and about consolidation. And it's just the same model we've seen throughout history in a not wanting to let go. This is the West not wanting to let go of influence after Christianity has lost its grip.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you talk about worldview. From the Catholic Church's perspective, they did a really good job of the empire expanded to the west. They got rid of all the pagan religions, and then everyone became essentially a Christian. And it was much easier to manage those individuals through the worldview of the Catholic Church, which is it's a fascinating thing to think about. And it's also fascinating that you bring into mind that the Roman Empire. I mean, this is your example. The Roman Empire were able to institutionalize agriculture and control the supply of food, and not only instigating their worldview or their ideology on reality to the West, but also the control of resources, which meant that they were fully in control. And we do see this now. We do see this now with the tech, the tech companies that we see, how they are vying for this power, how they're vying to be able to share their worldview or manage their worldview through platforms like X, through Facebook, and obviously Chinese-led social media platforms. Now, one of the reasons why we're talking about this is because you, and I don't know if you coined the phrase, Stephanie, but I'll err on the side of caution in case you didn't coin it, but this notion of we believed in gods till we became gods till we created gods. And I think through the process of us having this conversation, we've got up to the point where we went from praying to gods to becoming gods, which is this idea of owning the worldview, sharing that with other people, getting them to believe in it, and then all of a sudden you, the Pope, becomes a god, if you like, or something closer to God. Obviously, this was going on long before the Catholic Church with the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, people before that. But it's a good example that we can point to. Now, there's also another aspect to this which you touched on, which is kind of the idea around the technological revolution and the Enlightenment, where we really started to move away from religion because we got a better understanding of the world. This then ebbed away at our belief system, and we kind of realized that gods weren't necessarily responsible for some of the wonders of the world. So how do you think the technological revolution has evolved since kind of the time of the Enlightenment to now?
Okay, I'm going to push back actually on a lot of what you've said.
Please.
In that I don't think we're gods. I think we're rubbish gods. Like if you look at food, like the food industry, we've got so many chefs in the world. We've created so many incredible foods, but we've never once created anything as complex as an apple or a raspberry. We've done so much in climate tech. We have invented all these incredible machines, and we've not once created anything as powerful as a tree. So, I think we like to pretend that we're godlike, but we like to pretend we have control over nature, but we really don't. I mean, we are nowhere close with all of our money and with all of our prowess. Like, we can't outsmart nature. So on that, I take it with a pinch of salt when we try to be godlike, and I don't worry about it too much, because the forces we're trying to grapple with, whatever they actually are, if it's nature, like what have you, they are so much more powerful that they just, it's almost laughable what we're trying to do. I mean, you look at the scale and magnitude of the universe, and you realize we don't understand the universe at all. We don't even understand 5% of the universe. And we're literally here on Earth saying that we have data on about 2% of what we observe here and now, which happens to all be about how you sell products. And we're going to build models that are going to predict that. And then we're going to know everything and dominate the universe. It's like, obviously not. Like, we don't even understand if humans are hydrated. Like, we don't know why a penguin can dive. Like, we don't know how a tree works. Like, we don't know exponentially more than we do know, and we wouldn't even know how to get the data for it to train AI. So like, the whole thing is just totally nonsense. And that's also something on some of your earlier points about the Enlightenment and moving towards science and stuff. And it's like, you know there are principles of the Enlightenment that are deeply religious, and we don't like to talk about that a lot. But actually, the foundations of society are much more religious than we think. So, Adam Smith, economist, also theologian, like net present value was created by a monk. The Enlightenment was also had lots of thinkers about it. It changed how we thought we could know God. It didn't get rid of God. It meant that we thought we could know God through reason and through our minds, rather than through aristocracy having a direct route. And so it democratized God, but the principles of Christianity were built into everything. And so one of the biggest pieces of the Enlightenment was the view that actually humans have dignity. Humans are inherently worthy. Regardless of whatever hierarchy has come, humans are worthy because they have the ability to reason and they have rational thought. And that started initially as like a religious ideal, but it became democratized. And what you see in the Enlightenment is like, a move away from slavery because of machines, a move to meritocracy, a move to democracy, like a move to people being viewed as equal and inherently worthy, away from being commodities and means to an end. And so the Enlightenment was religious. It had religious principles, it had creed, it had ideals that were inherently Christian, ideals that are in like pretty much like most religions. And now we've lost that. So this is the era where we are moving away from religion, because now we're saying actually humans don't have dignity. Let's go back to the time before, when there is no inherent dignity in being alive. There's no mystery. There's nothing that we can't solve. There's nothing that we can't exploit about humanity, and everything is totally up for grabs. So it's only now that we're experiencing this time where everything that was unsaid, like forgiveness, mercy, grace, community, respect, has gone out the window. Like, this is the godless era.
It's interesting because I didn't know enough about the Enlightenment. I didn't know enough. I don't nearly know enough as you about the Enlightenment, and that all of the principles or the tenets that came out of it were built on Christianity, which does beg the question: why are we so fundamentally moving away from God? There's a bit that you sort of glibly touched on there that I do really appreciate, is our predisposition for technology to drive capitalism. And having worked in the advertising and marketing arena for nearly 20 years, can completely see your point. Almost as if we've moved away from traditional kind of Christian values or religious values. Let's sort of bucket them all together because they're all pretty similar in their extent of do to others as you do to yourself, don't covet thy neighbour's ox and stuff like that. but now we move into a world where it is pure, have I got more than the next person? What more can I buy to enrich my life and make myself feel better? And I've heard you in talks before where you've touched on the fact that we're all just lacking love, we're all lacking self-esteem, we've lost our north star of kind of religion, of belief, of faith, which is love. And we don't love ourselves enough, which is why we need to fill up our lives with products. And that's why it's so easy to sell to us now, because we've got a hole in the soul, we're missing something.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, one of the biggest reasons why we've moved away from faith isn't reason, it's that we've been betrayed. Religions have betrayed us. I had a wonderful upbringing in Catholicism, and it was like, oh, God loves you and you're loved, and it was really nice. And then I was a teenager, and there was some bit more confusing teachings about shame. But then there was the paedophile scandal, and that was a betrayal. That was
Mm.
hard, and it led me to run away. I mean, and this isn't any judgment on any way that people reacted to it, but that was a betrayal to everybody. And what we've seen is that religions have betrayed many of us in the promise. Like, a lot of people have gone to it thinking that it is the path to love, have given up their authority, followed the rules, and been betrayed. And the same thing has happened with the economy. Okay, then we'll be we'll be capitalists. If we're not Catholic, we'll be capitalists. And that betrayed us with the recession, and actually you being able to lose your money with tax systems
Yeah.
being so unjust. Like, we've been betrayed by it, and now the hope is AI, but we already know AI is going to betray us because it's betraying us already. Like, life is not getting better. Like, in this world of abundance, why is everybody panicking about the fact that life has become so expensive and we're all scared about jobs? We've been betrayed, and it really hurts. We have a longing to explore these questions, but we don't really have safe places anymore because we've seen too much. It's hard to believe. And so we've lost a lot of the magic because the pain is overwhelming. So when I was working with DeepMind in AI ethics, one of the things that I found difficult was we don't talk about forgiveness and mercy and grace. We don't talk about what was included that was great in religions, that was so human, because we're overwhelmed by the pain of what wasn't great. But so we throw the whole thing out, and then we lose this magic of life because we don't have like a container to and that's where I think we are collectively depressed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we've lost sight of love, of life, of how you forgive, of how you come together, of how you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
patience and tolerance, and those things that are so difficult but that give us meaning in life. I don't think we really are a species who are that fussed about being happy, but we all desperately want meaning. It feels like there's not many avenues to get it now. And what I worry about AI is the psychological fallout when people realize it's also a betrayal.
Well, that's the tricky one. I'm gonna touch on, but it's a really tricky one because there's so many variables at play there. So, I was listening to your favorite radio station this morning, the one that you cussed me out for listening to, LBC, and they were talking about the UK government advertising for a doctor's role, and it was a hallway doctor. So they've embraced this idea that hospitals are broken, the NHS is broken, and actually they need doctors to provide medical support actually in the hallways. And they're now advertising for this specific role. That led on to the conversation deepening around the social contract is broken. The social contract is broken. And you talked about very early on the idea or the notion that we've been cheated. Essentially, we've been cheated. You started talking about we were. What was the phrase that you? What was the exact word that you used? It's
Betrayal.
betrayal. We
Yeah.
were. So you used the notion of being betrayed by the Catholic Church, all altruistic, all amazing. We can look to them for guidance and support, and obviously there's this very kind of seedy underbelly at play that's not being looked into. There's no accountability there, and now you then go on to looking at the wider social contract and how institutions, from big conglomerates through to the kind of local government, national government that should support us, that should help us, are now completely kind of broken. We as a society have the least amount, at this moment in time, have the least amount of trust in media publications, have the least amount of trust in government organisations and institutions. We just have no belief in society anymore. Layer on the fact that also community has changed. There was also the conversation went on to how the birth rate is massively slowed down in first world countries, partly due to the fact that people can't afford to have kids anymore because housing is so expensive. Also, the landscape for dating has completely changed. Community has changed. And they were talking about how when you would have a kid in the 60s, in the 70s, it was a whole community that supported the children, and one mum would cook for all of the kids on the street in a lunchtime, and then another one, another. And that doesn't happen anymore because we're more isolated. We are more of a nuclear family rather than a community. So to summarize all of that, we have been betrayed. The betrayal has come. Well, first of all, where has that betrayal come from that links to the social contract? And have institutions kind of lost a sense of accountability? And within that, have we allowed technology to change our communities, change the way that we communicate with each other so much that could we ever go back? And is now AI the kind of shining light because no one can be accountable for themselves, and we have to look to something for a sense of kind of guidance and the answer, basically.
Right, yeah, okay, lots of things there. But I will start by saying the only reason why I say that about LBC is because that's what everyone in my family listens to. And then my mum's always
I
like, I
love
had to
it.
pull the car over to dial in. And I'm just like, it was too
I've never
spicy,
dialed in.
too much. Yeah, like, so it's not because they're bad or anything. It's just because it's hard to not be engaged all the
Oh,
time
well,
what they're saying.
now I know the context for it. Now I understand.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just want to give LBC a fair rap there. There's some good stuff on there. There is so much to what you have said here. Like the AI thing is just so exploitative when it comes to healthcare. So, firstly, we know how you give good healthcare. Like you need to have a tax system that works, and that's how you fund a national healthcare service. And so we don't tax big tech companies, and on top of that, we use the taxpayer money
Yeah,
that we have
yeah,
gathered from the masses to give them to the tech companies to
yeah,
invest in tech that could maybe one day save someone. When you know how you save people, you give them access to GP. There is no AI that will outdo the mess of people not getting GP appointments. Like these things don't take a genius, but it's hoarded the money out. I don't know. It is given people the hope of some type of God that they are willing to sell everybody else down, like just to bargain with this new power. But I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say this very well, but a lot of my views about AI changed when I was a carer for my dad when he was dying, and I was in the hospital every day
yeah,
for months, and seeing the truth of what is going on in the NHS was so overwhelming, like how bad it, and like the idea that we are talking about advancements in healthcare is nonsense. Like what we are talking about now is like the basics of like dying with dignity. Like that's where I was like, okay, maybe I do need to lean back into religion, because it is nice to have a chaplain come and hold my dad's hand. It is nice to think about compassion and mercy here. Like this is what's helping me learn how to accept that this has all been betrayed. The healthcare system is not what it is, and like there's a time for anger in all of that, but there is also a time where the reality of life will push stronger against all that nonsense, and you're just confronted with like with the actual truth of the moment, which was, for me, it was my dad is dying, the NHS has failed him, I'm a full-time project manager trying to get him help, and it's not work, I can't do it, and now the only thing in my control is to have a beautiful death, to give him a beautiful death. And that was a turn from intelligence and rationality, as society had told me, to being like, maybe I need some of these principles of religion a bit more than I thought, because that's the only hope now. And that was a really big eye opener in like the world is going backwards. Because the favorite thing everyone likes to talk about is AI and healthcare. AI is going to improve healthcare. AI is going to improve healthcare. It's like AI is going to improve healthcare for billionaires,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's going to suck the life force out of everybody else. Like life expectancy is already declining. It is sucking the life force out of other people, like a Disney evil character, like those the stereotypes of like the older women who suck from the youth of the young. Like that's what's happening. All of the world's resources are going into making billionaires try to believe that they can overcome death to make them feel like God, but they can't anyway. So it's all, when you take a step back and you look at it, we are all suffering because billionaires want to think that they're going to be godlike and want to think that they can defeat death. And even though we all know they can't, we have to play this game where we all suffer to try to get them to bow.
So AI is Voldemort or an equivalent, and
Yeah.
essentially a byword for big tech conglomerates, CEOs' egos.
Yeah, I mean it's not intelligent. It's not, it's just it's a way to suck the life force into fewer people, and everybody loses from it. Everybody's miserable. Like Elon Musk is on ketamine for depression.
Yeah,
Barbie's sad and Ken is sad. Like we're just in an era where everyone's sad. Women are sad, men are sad. Like kids are sad, adults are sad. Like it's just no one is working from like no one's doing well because everybody's failing. Like billionaires will not live forever. That's it. Like you're going to die too. It's the great democracy, like the great equalizer. Even if you put yourself in a computer in 100 years, no one will care. No one will care. No one will want to chat to you because people don't remember the richest people in history. That's it. Like they've all been forgotten. We remember the most loving, we remember the most impactful, we remember the worst, the most evil, but we don't remember the richest. They have to, if you want to be if you're a rich person, you want to be remembered, you got to buy hospitals, you got to buy universities, you got to buy social public service things and put your name on it.
yeah, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get remembered, or you have to become like evil. um
So that's the only goal. I think we've got to the point where we can't right all of the world's wrongs on this one individual podcast. We understand that technology has had quite a detrimental impact on society. It has for years been, I guess, lauded as the savior, and AI is just the next chapter of that. We've kind of delved into the fact that tech billionaires and the like, we know they don't pay enough tax. They probably won't be remembered in history unless they become evil, which seems like you've stated a really simple kind of natural transition for any tech billionaires at the moment to go from the sort of altruistic, we want to change the world, to actually, well, if I want to be remembered, I have to do something really serious. And that could be they turn into an evil kind of Austin Powers villain. Um, you did talk about, and we have only got a few minutes left, so I won't ask you too much. I won't push too much on this. You did say that we might not create, or we haven't got AI that's at the moment. AI is as intelligent as like a 12-year-old, right? But at the rate of exponential growth, and with the the impending Q day around the corner, we could see quantum computing and AI combined to become something quite astonishing. If that happens and we do build God, what would you say would be the, rather than we create something that is just sort of an extension of what we've already got, like a propaganda dissemination machine or something to drive autonomous weapons, which is probably what these things will get used for. What would be, what should we build? If we were going to build God, what would it look like? What should it look like?
Okay. So basically what I'd say is AI isn't as smart as a 12-year-old.
I thought
You
that.
know what like if you have a 12-year-old, yeah, like some of the most powerful things that they do is see that you're a bit sad and stressed and give you a hug. AI can't do that. AI can't do anything about love because it doesn't have the data set. It doesn't have the emotional intelligence. Like humans are so much more than test machines. Like we are so loving and we care. We care about each other. Like most people care about each other. Most 12-year-olds care. They say the obvious thing. They might not write you a PhD thesis in 5 minutes, but they will say the most obvious thing and they will view the world in a more simple, more fair way, which is the world that we all want to live in. And they care. So AI is nowhere close to being like a 12-year-old or being as smart as a 12-year-old because it's nowhere close to understanding the full complexities of humanity and our capacity to love. And I think if we were really kind and loving to ourselves, we wouldn't have any need or desire to build God. We'd be at peace. But if we were going to build things, and I've been a bit Debbie Downer on this whole podcast, but I think basically the challenge of AI now is that we are building it on the wrong paradigm, but we can build it on a different paradigm. We're building it on the paradigm of fear, coercion, control, private profit. But we don't have to. It's just like with religion. We talk about religion, we talk about faith as if like they're one thing, but within them they're varied and everybody has the choice. Every follower themselves has the choice. So do they believe in love? Is God loving or is God vengeful? Does God want peace or does God want punishment? And in every religion you have both and you have to choose. You have to take that leap of faith. And so right now we are surrounded by a world where a lot of people say God is vengeful. God wants punishment and I'm going to build this technology and it's going to do those things, but maybe it will do good, but actually there's going to be an existential risk and this is going to be awful and it's going to be so powerful. But there is also the choice for people to say, well, hey, actually my framework for life and for the unknown is love and kindness. That's what makes me feel alive. That's what brings me joy, what brings me meaning. And I'm going to build AI products for that. So that's what I do. I'm like, okay, well, I love love. I love caring about humans. I actually loved being a carer for my father. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Was it fun? No. Was it happy? No. But it was fulfilling. It was meaningful. It was meaning that I had never experienced working for these big tech companies. Like I started volunteering in a food bank. That was meaningful. Like all these existential risks of maybe I need to become God to prove that I'm worthy of love went away. And that reshifted my focus on what is the point about AI, what is intelligence, what is amazing about humans, and how do we build for that? Like we don't have to, it's not the tech, just like God. It's not God. It's not the tech. These are things that can be anything. It's what we think the objective of life is, how we view ourselves, where our self-esteem is, and what we want to create that we do that we do it. And in that way, we're actually quite like God. We decide what we make, not the AI. And we're deciding now it's pretty dark, but we can change that. We can, especially now when, you can just use ChatGPT to make whatever you want. Like, and you don't need developers and you don't need programmers. You can go on this different route to say, well, actually, all I really want from life is to love and to be loved and throw my hands up. that's not super intelligent, and it's not what society's told me, but fine, forget it. Yeah, I'm just going to do what I actually want. And then you can start building for that. But it won't have the same dependence, because it's just not what love is. Love is freedom. It's not this icky stuff, and it doesn't run on fear, and you don't need to worry about what breakthrough's coming or whatever. You can just live. And so that's the end of my sermon.
Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic.
Actually, I will just plug quickly, but the
Please.
Vatican wrote a really good report on AI and the dangers of AI and how it's making us lose some of the magic. And I think for me, I had always, what had made me so vulnerable to falling into these stories and then just getting betrayed a lot, was that I was looking for like some pure good, some pure truth, and like everything being perfect. And that is just not the human condition. Everything is a mix of good and of bad and of all of that, and it's each of our jobs to discern for ourselves. And so it's not, I really don't want anyone to take that I view Catholicism as bad or LBC as bad or anything like that, but it's just that there is the good with the bad, and it's about taking what's helpful. But the Vatican's paper is really, like, really good. I mean, I even wonder now, can you be more reasonable if you are of faith, because you already have that position filled, so you can be more critical of what the AI narrative is? I don't know. But last little plug is that check out that paper, because it's actually really good. Dense, but good.
And do you want to give a quick plug to your online tool that helps people discern the sentiment behind the content that they're reading online?
Okay, yes, I've forgotten about that. So basically, I started thinking about what AI would look like if the goal was love and not the current incentive structures, and then taking different problems and looking at what I would create if the goal was love. One was child safety, and if the goal was actually protect children and not protect children while you're profiting from them, we would create different solutions. It's not that difficult. And so came up with a 1 to 5 green to red score called the digital health score. And it shows you what the likely psychological impact is of your online content consumption. And the idea is that you see it for yourself, but you could also see it for your child. And it is effectively food labels for the internet. And we have a Chrome extension, which you can download and help us refine our model. And it's just one example of many of, if you actually had, if your actual incentives were love and community and compassion, what would innovation look like? And it's a great time to be working on this. If this speaks to anybody, reach out, because it is an open market. You know, you have millions of people talking about how child safety is too difficult to solve, when the reality is it's too difficult to solve when the incentive structures are to profit from kids.
Yeah,
But it's not too difficult to solve when you just step out of it. So it is a great time to be an innovator in this field, and we need more.
I love that, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll put all the links in the show notes, including the Vatican report, including the link to the platform that you're working on, and a link to your website. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Love to have you on again.
Thank you, Greg. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.